Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting, the regular meeting of the Rutland Town Select Board. This is for April 25th, 2023. We're starting at 6 o'clock. There was an earlier meeting at 5, also open to the public, that dealt with the proposed new fire and police facility up at McKinley Avenue, and that's what's up on the board and on the easel. So if you want to take a few minutes to take a look after, you can. Please help yourself. There is an open house. I guess we're going to have some more announcements later, so let me just start the meeting. We have Select Board member Joe DiNardo zooming in on the phone. Present today, Kurt Hathaway, I'm Mary Ashcroft, Matt Getty, and Sharon Russell. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we'll start with the select board minutes. We have 2 sets for your approval. One is for the April 11th meeting, which was our regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motions made by Matt, seconded by Sharon. Any additions, deletions, corrections?
Let me see. Where'd it go? Yeah, find it. Oh, on page 4-6, it says the board came out of executive session at 8:38. Selectman Hathaway left the select board meeting during executive session. Can we just add in that I left that for a brush fire?
For
fire call.
Okay.
It's just
Yes.
I don't want it to seem like I steamed out of rage or something.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right. Anything else?
I wasn't that mad that night.
You're a pretty even-tempered guy.
I tried.
Anything else? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes of April 11th as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you, Joe. And Joe's 1 to 4 in favor, 1 abstention, no no's. Okay, I'm circulating a set now. Next, we have the April 17th meeting of the select board. This was the one to set the warning for the McKinley Avenue Public Safety Building. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion made by Matt, seconded by Sharon. Any additions, corrections, deletions? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Abstain.
There's 1 abstention. That was Kurt.
Yep.
So motion carries and the minutes are accepted. Here comes that one. Okay. Any announcements from board members? Is that for Kurt? Sure. Any announcements from board members? Scholarship committee, do you have an announcement? Do you have
Applications are due?
There you go. There.
What are the applications due, Mary? Still.
Friday at noontime. So if there are graduating seniors who've lived in Rutland Town for at least 2 years and you don't have your applications in yet, please get them in by noontime on Friday. That's this coming Friday. And if you don't, you're not going to have a chance to get an application or a scholarship from the town. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other announcements that I can prompt? All right. So the we will, it's an update from the select board chair. I have several issues that we will need to discuss in executive session, so we will have an executive session at the end of the meeting. And let me make an announcement, which I think the chief might want to, fire chief might also want to make, and he can. So if we repeat it several times, that's a good thing. And that is, there is an open house at McKinley Fire Station this coming Saturday, which is the 29th. It is from 10 to noon. So those townspeople and others who have questions about what we're proposing up at McKinley, what the issues are now that prompt us to want to put a new building up there, please come to the open house. You'll get a tour. Latest indication, you'll also get refreshments, and town officials and fire and police folks will be there to answer your questions. So open house McKinley on Saturday morning from 10 to noon. Still gives you time to get to the transfer station, still gives you time to do the hazardous waste pickup, which I think maybe Larry will want to mention, but we'll get to that. Okay. This is the time when we will take questions or comments from the floor, folks who are not otherwise on the agenda. Are there any folks who want to ask questions, raise issues? And I know we've got some folks here who are not usual faces, so yes, sir.
I'm Jim Marsh. I live on 79 Barrett Hill Road.
Mhm.
And I'd just like to bring to the town's attention the speed of the traffic that travels up Simons Avenue, under the trestle, and up past Foley Circle. There are cars that just are never going to hit 25 or way over 25. Very loud, very fast. And I'd like to, see if there's something that we could do to contain that. It's dangerous. I got a dog and a cat, and I worry about them. I keep them in, but it's just cars have gone off on that curve up beyond. And I've thought of many suggestions on how to contain the speed. And I think the easiest one and simplest one would be to make Simons Avenue one way coming from the west to east. That would force everybody to go up past the fire department and make those sharp corners, and it would make it less of a shortcut. And I think it would contain the traffic. With the Casella coming to the college, I can just see more and more traffic coming that way. And we put speed radar up there last summer or summer before, and it worked for the first 2 days, and then after that, nothing's gonna happen, so they just continue to speed. I think it's just a dangerous situation. There's a bus stop at the end of the Foley Circle. It's a concern of mine, and I'd like to see something done.
Okay, thank you. Well, we've got Ted Washburn right behind you. He's our deputy chief, and Ed Dumas is our chief of police right behind you. Where's the speed cart these days? North Grove. Okay.
3 seconds to hook on it, move it.
Okay. Is that in that area? It sounds like could do with a few more patrols. Is that part of your patrol loop anyway? Okay. Okay. Our first constable is not able to join us tonight. He does quite a bit of the patrolling for speed matters. So if you could pass the word along to him that that's an area of concern. In your suggestion of turning Simons Avenue into a one-way street, this came up about, I don't know, I'm thinking 10 or 12 years ago as part of a study that Rutland Town did with West Rutland on some of the improvements or what we wanted to see in that corridor. That was a suggestion. I think it was for that, a suggestion made, and there was, people didn't like it. Let me just say that. So the one way turning Simons Avenue.
People who are taking the shortcut aren't going to like it. No.
Well, you're right about that.
Like
yeah.
The other thing that sort of coincides is I know it's the city, but eventually Ripley Road, having a stoplight out there would help.
Mhm.
That would, between the Dunkin' Donuts, people trying to get into the furniture store, it becomes a madhouse.
There was a light there. Yes, and I agree with you. I wish the city had never taken it down because the traffic pattern at that intersection is horrible.
Again, Sella developing, it's just going to increase.
Yeah.
Both, and I don't know why. I don't know what the disagreement would be to turn Simon's Inn Avenue into a one-way. And the fire department might not like it, but they could always, you sign it, emergency traffic only. The people come off Route 4, lickety split, because it's there's no turn, basically. And then they come around that underneath the trestle and it's like a hill climb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go through there a lot and I don't speed, so it wasn't me. Okay, so
I wonder if we could work. V-Trans is big on squaring up intersections now.
That would work.
And if that is an intersection that they would be willing to work with us on squaring, and then you'd have to come and make a hard right turn onto Simons Avenue. Essentially, they're just jetting off,
Oh, yeah.
hanging it right and blowing up through there.
Yeah.
If you curb that off, so it's
yeah.
that might help.
Okay.
That may be something worth reaching out to V-Trans about.
Let's see. Joey DiNardo, you are our highway committee guy. Who else? Who's on highway with you? Is it
I
Kurt?
think I am there.
Is that something?
Kurt and I
highway
are on
might-
highway.
Could you and Kurt maybe take a look at that and see if we can at least
Yeah,
follow
we'll-
up on what we can do? And Sharon and I are in police committee, so
Yeah, I think we could meet with Dave. Probably we get them all, if we talk to V-Trans through the road commissioner and through police, maybe we can we'll set up a joint meeting here in a few weeks or something and try to come up with some plan of how to go about it. Probably when they did the paving would have been the time to do it, but nobody really thought about it then.
yeah. Okay. So it looks like we're gonna take a look at this in a couple of different directions. Our police department is now aware of it, and our highway folks are gonna get together and see if there's something that can occur. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yep, keep on us. If you don't hear anything for a while, I'm sure we'll hear back from you. Okay, fair enough.
Road.
All right, anything else? John?
John Ruggiero. I'm here tonight to inquire about the Rutland Town parcel that adjoins my property over on Route 7. It's owned by the town. It's about 29 acres. A couple of weeks ago, I called a former select person just to chat, and I said, what do I do to buy that land? And he said, I think it's already sold. So that just piqued my interest a little bit. I was always happy with the town owning it, but if the town is considering selling it, I would be certainly an interested buyer.
Okay,
I don't know whether they're just speculation or if there's been any formal stuff, but I'm here tonight to just show my interest. And if there is nobody else interested, maybe I could at least start a discussion about maybe the town selling that property and having some procedure and protocol to do that.
okay. Well, I think we mentioned at our last meeting, we have received an offer to purchase that property. One of the things we will be discussing in executive session is advice from our attorney on how to proceed with this. So we are aware, and now we're aware of your interest as well. So thank you for coming in. And that will be because it's a land transaction and there are executive session, there are interests to protect all around, including the town's interest and our attorney's advice. We're going to be in executive session to discuss that. And when we come out, there is a process that we have to follow. So it's a public process. So there will be information. We do have to, if we are going to sell it, we do have to give notice, and it has to be in the newspaper. So that's part of what we will be discussing. That much I can tell you because it's, that's statutory. information.
Just to clarify, it would be some kind of a public notice, but does that mean that potentially a decision could be made in executive session about selling it to the, who I don't even know.
We can't make we can't make decisions in executive session. We have to
Oh,
come out
just- all right.
and and make a formal vote, so you will know what we're thinking at that time.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a chance that I could have a few minutes at some point to discuss the history of that property? Because I think it's really important.
If you can take a few minutes right now, go ahead.
I'll give it to you straight.
Okay.
So the property was a subject of a tax sale.
Mhm.
It came out of what I own now. The owner that had it when the tax sale occurred was Dave Sirac. I bought it from Mr. Sirac. At that time, he owned both parcels, the parcel that I own, which is right on the town city border. So at the time, in 2008, during the reappraisal, the property was appraised at $44,900. In the 208 appraisal, it went to $697,000. And I didn't buy it until later. The tax sale had occurred, the 365 days had expired, and the town essentially took the property. I think there was a serious mistake made at the time. And I don't believe that the owner, Mr. Sirac, got notice of the tax sale. I've done a little bit of research. So I just think there was some things that happened that probably, I don't think they were intentional. I think it was completely unintentional mistakes. The second thing is access to the property is an issue. And I think the only viable access is over my property. And I think there's an issue about whether or not that can happen. There is this myth that, you know, no property in Vermont is landlocked, but there is a clear, you know, at least from what I've seen in land records, that this is not landlocked, but it has a right to go to Post Road. But I think everybody will be looking at my property to cross because it's pretty much surrounded by a wetland. It's the biggest wetland in Rutland City, Rutland Town. So I think there's some serious issues with the property, and if it's going to be sold, I think at least you guys should be aware of those kinds of problems. And I'd hate to think that it gets sold and then we're all fighting about it. Pretty much litigation. So if there's a public procedure, I think that's entirely fair that somehow it gets put out if the town's inclined to sell it.
Okay.
Those are my concerns about what could happen if it gets sold.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input on that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's see. Are there any other folks here who would like to, who are not otherwise on the agenda, who would like to address the board, raise issues or concerns?
I have an issue.
Mike Gabriel.
Yes, Mike Gabriel over from 256 Jazana Drive. If Ed Dumas is in the room, he's probably chuckling right now because I've been talking with him about this. But we have a free range chicken problem over here in the neighborhood. I know the town doesn't have zoning. I grew up in the town of Hartford, which had zoning, so this was never an issue. But there's landlords that rent 226, or there's tenants at 226 Jazana Drive. It's always been a rental property. I think Steve Grabowski owns the property. I chatted with the tenants last week, and we kind of just talked things over how this is going to go, because right now what's going on is if they leave during the day, you know, the chickens are just doing whatever they want. And I know they're free range chickens, but to my understanding, free range chickens should stay on the property owner, not just to other, you know, properties in the area. So when we talked about this a week ago, they said they were going to put a fence up. They have not put a fence up yet. The reason why I'm getting a little frustrated about it is because I did a bunch of yard work a couple weekends ago, and we had the nice weather stretch, and thatched the lawn, started to seed it. I'm starting to put chemicals down at fertilizers and stuff. It's when the chickens are coming over, they're just how chickens are. They will tear up dirt, grass pretty easily. So I don't know what else I can do here. I've been told to take it to the select board, which I'm doing. We've been over here for almost 8 years. And I've never had an issue like this in the neighborhood. So I feel kind of silly bringing this up to a select board meeting, but it is an issue. So yeah, I guess someone could just issue some guidance. I'm just also curious to why we don't have some zoning around this. I know it's an issue in the city. I think the city came up with some regulations around having, chickens on properties. I'm completely fine with the operation itself. I told them that, I have friends that do the whole chicken, the egg thing. I think it's great, but just keep it on your property. I just don't understand why they think that because they're free range, they can just go all over Susanna Drive. So
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Mike. I have kept chickens and I know what damage they can do. So I appreciate your input. To my knowledge, we don't have any ordinances that would address this. And as you know, we don't have zoning in town. I don't think, and we don't have any kind of ordinance about keeping any kind of livestock or farm animals or chickens that I know of. So I'm not sure what guidance to give you other than, ordinary nuisance law, which seems a shame to, if your neighbors aren't responding, going the lawyer route. So somebody's box is Joe, did you want to say something?
Well, my thoughts are, this gentleman, Mike, has done the right thing. He's talked to his neighbors, and I think that's the best approach. Is they're going to need to fence their chickens in, because if the chickens become a nuisance under I believe we do have a nuisance ordinance, then they can be dealt with, which won't make the chicken owners happy, but they need to be made aware of that. And maybe just a letter of information from us to them that there is this nuisance ordinance, and that if these chickens become a nuisance, which it appears they are, they can be dealt with in a manner that's not going to be favorable to the chickens. So I think that's a good way to go. I mean, when you go to your neighbor and tell them what the problem is, and this is what, not being tough about it, you just say, you got to keep them home. I think that it's the owner of the livestock or fowl that have to be responsible. I mean, we weren't allowed to let our cows wander, and if you have cows, you have to build a fence, you keep them home. And that's the responsibility of the livestock, or in this case, poultry owners. So I think they got to put a fence up or cage their chickens up, or they're probably going to end up being gone.
Yeah, because that was the conversation I had with them a week ago, and when she came over to talk to me, this is I have the names if we could take it offline. But when she came over, she said, well, what's the issue? And I said, well, your chickens are on our property. That's the issue. And she said, well, they're free range chickens. And I said, that's great, but keep them at 226 Susanna. And then she goes, well, you must not be a Vermonter. I said, well, I actually am born and raised. I was born and raised in Rutland. And I said, I am a Vermonter. Just because I don't have chickens doesn't make me a Vermonter. But she just thinks that she just was like, I was just so taken aback by she was telling me like they're free range chickens. You should be able to go wherever they want. And I'm sitting there like, no. And so I guess, that's why I was talking with Ed last. It's gotten to the point now. It's been a week. They haven't put a fence up yet. They're obviously not taking me seriously. So I don't know if that entails, Ed coming out or or a letter from the town saying, hey, that they need to put a fence up, because this is going to be a thing all summer if they don't contain this. And it's just, it's getting really frustrating.
Mike, I thank you, Joe, for reminding us that we do have a nuisance ordinance. So Mike, if you would. Oh, well, okay.
Buildings and things like that, but there's nothing in there about animals.
All right. Our Bill Sweet, our town administrator, just checked quickly through our nuisance ordinance, and he says it doesn't deal with animals.
Yeah, which I read that online too. I just
okay.
But you do have the smell of it, obviously, and the wind goes in the right direction. And they do have a rooster that they admitted to me is a little, I guess, messed up in the head and does, croak or whatever they do. Sorry, I'm an accountant. I'm not a farmer person, but it makes noise throughout the day. I actually work from home, so I had to buy, headphones now when I talk on the phone. But like I said, I'm totally fine with them doing what they do over there, but just I don't understand why they just can't keep it to 226 Susanna Drive. And it's tough because you pay property taxes in the town. You're a property owner. They're renting. They don't own the property, and to come off that way, like they can just do whatever they want. It's just it's frustrating. So I
Yes.
wish that maybe in the future, I mean, if we could get something in place as a town, right? Because it would just be nice if someone could come out and just say, hey, this, I know it doesn't fall under the nuisance ordinance, but, I would just like a fence up because this is just getting very, ridiculous.
And frankly, if you have chickens, you should have fences up anyway, because there's all sorts of wild animals that will take care of them.
Yeah.
I've found that out.
Well, and we have
Mary,
Joe,
Mary,
go ahead.
I wonder on, when a town doesn't have a particular ordinance or they don't have particular zoning or whatever, stuff falls back on, the state statutes governing. So I'm wondering if there's something in the state's myriad of rules, regulations about, keeping cows, chickens, horses, about containing them and doing whatever. So there might be something out there on that level that would help with this matter. But I just think common sense would, in decent courtesy, these folks ought to put a fence up and go from there.
Joe,
So,
the farmers in the room are kind of thinking, yeah, there's something out there, because
There's
we've
gotta
all
be
had to
something out
fence
there.
in our livestock.
I mean,
I
might
have
not be the
chickens,
most
but they're
correct, but
fenced
if I had free range chickens on my range, they'd probably be on my grill.
So I won't let my chickens out of their pen because you'll be cooking them.
Yeah.
Okay, don't anybody
Well,
ask
good.
about chickens crossing the road. Barb,
That's my only question.
Barb has something
Yeah, I
to
was just gonna
contribute.
mention that
Planning
I
Commission
think
Chair.
state statute does address this, but in the way that if it's just a few animals, a small operation, the town can regulate it. So that kind of falls back into zoning at that point. But it is allowed by state statute to address some of these specifics.
Okay. Do we have to do an ordinance in order to address it?
I think you probably could do an ordinance, so we wouldn't have to do a townwide zoning. So yeah, that's something. We were looking at that a few years ago with some horses in a particular neighborhood. And everyone decided they didn't really want to pursue it that at the time, but I think there are avenues if you do want to go that way.
Okay. Mike, did you hear that?
Yeah. I guess I know nothing happens overnight. I just, in the meantime, like, is there anything I can do or, the town can do to kind of just get the ball rolling on this? Like I said, it seems like they're not responding to the conversation we had a week ago. So I just, I guess I could buy stuff to put a fence up, but then it's like, do I go over there with the bill to them to reimburse me? Like I don't know if the highway garage has like some snow fences. I reached out to David Sears via email just to see if there was like some snow fences I could borrow for the summer, because I'm proactive. I like to get stuff done, and it just seems like these guys are just going to just continue to do what they want. I do have pictures to show that they've been on various properties now. It's just it's obviously just not ours. It's
so Mike, what I'm going to suggest, Ed Dumas says he will be back up to visit you on Monday. Okay.
Okay.
And in the meantime, Barbara, if you have any of the old information about the ordinances that we took a look at, or the state statute, could you send it to Bill? And then Mike, be in touch with Bill Sweet, our town administrator, and he will pass along whatever Barbara is able to find for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And Ed will be up. This member of the choir you're preaching to, I think we should have zoning. I don't necessarily have support among other members here, or the townspeople for that matter. So it's one of those things that we can't promise you there's going to be a work in progress, but let's see if we can do. This is a basic nuisance issue, and I'm sure there are state laws governing it.
There's got to be something at the state level to handle this type of thing.
Good luck. If you need to, check back in a couple of weeks or in a month, and let us know how things are going. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Chief Dumas. All right. Any other members of the general public who would like the chance to address the board? Anybody on the screen? On the phone? Zooming in. Okay. Then let's go on to our agenda. Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
No, that sounded like a complaint. Nope. I'm looking down. That was not a complaint at all.
That's very nice of you, Bill. It's mowing, so it's growing, so Rowe is mowing, which is good. Started mowing the other day, which is great. We had a committee meeting that Sharon can talk about or Matt can talk about. We had that one last night. There was a letter, which I think you all have, about dog park petition that you all received. I received it, so I'm assuming you all have it in front of you. The pool is about that far away from me getting the sludge out, which is the next step. So that's a good thing. Baseball is started and our games are started, and Bill will have the games. If they're not already, they will be on the website. So if people want to check out a game down at Dewey or over at Northwood, that's starting to really kick in, which is awesome. We've got some great people helping out, which is always a good thing in our town, that we have a lot of people that are willing to volunteer their time to help the kids. So the numbers are very good, which is promising. Other than that, just kind of moving along with our projects that we want to get done at the park, at both parks for the summer. We did talk about in committee. We do have a grass problem. It has gotten progressively worse at both parks for some strange reason. I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing that, but it's brown and it doesn't look like it wants to turn green. So we talked in committee about potentially the next step. I've already contacted some people to give us an idea of what it's going to take to bring it back, because playing on brown dirt doesn't really appeal to kids that are trying to have fun playing a sport. And it's both at Northwood and at Dewey. It's pretty bad. Like, the only green part on both of those parks is the actual infield. So if you go to Northwood, there is no green on those backfields except the infield. And if you go to Dewey, the only green is on the infield, and then the rest of the outfield is brown, and it doesn't look like it's going to. And I really don't know why.
Could
But
it
it's
be
bad.
because
Mike?
it's been so
Mike?
dry?
Yeah,
It's
Joe?
bad. Yeah, Mike, what do you have for a nutrient replacement plan, if any?
We talked about that in committee.
Okay,
I had
so
for a number of years, I was fertilizing both, and it
Okay.
seemed to do fairly well. And then this winter, for whatever reason, it just annihilated everything. And it didn't seem like it was a really harsh winter to
right,
do that.
it may be the lack of snow cover, may be the thing. And I know you had a committee meeting. Things I'd suggest, getting somebody to come in and do some soil samples and see what's going on. Laws is the place that we do business out of, Brandon, and I'm sure there's other companies that you could get in and, just see what's going on there for, it might need some lime, might need fertilizer. Up at Northwood, as you know, that's pretty sandy soil, so I don't know how much topsoil you got there. And actually, center Dewey Field I don't think that was much different. We played ball there years ago. So those are some things that you can start with, and then, but soil samples will probably be your number one way to go to just see what's going on there.
Thanks. I do have a local company that I've contacted that is going to come out and give us an estimate of what a professional company, what is needed to potentially bring it back. And then I'll bring it back to the board for what they want to do going forward.
Soil samples are available at not very much cost through the UVM extension service. So I think it's like $15.
Yep.
And you can sample various parts and send it in, and that will tell you what you're going to need. So you'll have an informed discussion with these contractors coming in.
I'll give you a call this week and look it over.
All you gotta do is go look at it around.
Yeah. I
To the
think,
brown.
And it doesn't look like it's gonna change anytime soon.
I think
so.
there's, you can probably fix it up pretty quickly, I do believe. I think you can take your chain drag and rough it up, hit it with a little bit of lime, some fertilizer, hit it with grass seed, roll it in, and then,
That's what I've done in the past, but it's never been anywhere near like it is right now.
yeah. It'll come back in and then,
While you're up here, do you want to report on
Sure.
the rec committee meeting?
Yep.
Thank you, Kurt.
Okay, where are we discussing the upper fields that are, and Mike has pictures of them. It's pretty
yeah,
disgusting. So he was going to look into getting professionals' input, and then maybe after that, I know BJ fertilizes for us with liquid fertilizer. He sprays it on, so that might be something down the road that Mike can talk with BJ, and if that's what they tell you, if the professionals say, well, it needs to be fertilized every year with the liquid fertilizer, then, BJ does that. So I'm sure we'll get a better price than we would from others. So, so that's all I have for that part of it. The dog park. The town has no room for a dog park. And I want people to listen to me so that you understand. The town of Rutland does not own the entire of Northwood Park. And where there is opportunity to put stuff, it's owned by the school. So you would have to petition the school, not us. It's just, that's where it's at. So, that's the best we can tell you. The other thing is, I think people need to also look into the fact of what it would cost for all of the fencing. I mean, the suggestion in the letter we got was 2.5 acres. Well, fence in 2.5 acres and look at between $30,000 and $40,000.
yeah, or 50 or 60 now.
Or even, and there we
I
are.
got some pricing on
So
Main Link Road
I
this
don't
year.
know that we can absorb that cost. Down the road, there's some other thoughts being thought about that might open something up. And I, at this point, I'm not ready to share that because it's something that Mike wants to talk to us about. So I don't feel it's right.
So we've received a dog park petition. What's the committee's recommendation for how
Well,
to deal with that?
There are, West Rutland has a dog park. Rutland Hospital has a dog park. Fairhaven has a dog park. I don't know how long that's going to be because they're really having problems with it. So that's the only thing we can suggest right now. But we cannot say it's okay to let your dogs run loose in Northwood. One, it's not fair to people up there walking. It's not fair to people who have children up there that are playing. Your dog may not bite, but if a big dog jumps a little kid, you're looking at somebody getting hurt. Or if a big dog jumps at a senior citizen, and I'm one, and I'm 4'9". So if a big dog jumped on me, it would scare the living hell right out of me. Plus the fact it probably would hurt me. So don't you laugh over there. Harry Ripperman, Timmy's laughing.
Yeah.
We're just laughing because
Bring
you're
my
rounding
tape
up,
measure
Sharon.
next
Yeah, you're rounding up. I was more like 4'7" up.
Yeah,
I love you, but
I'll bring the tape measure in next meeting. We'll double check.
We're going to measure
Um,
you too.
can I throw in?
Yes,
what we
please.
had- So in that conversation, I said that I would reach out to the person that wrote the letter, which I did, and I'm just waiting for them to call me back.
Okay.
And I did reach out to the school board chair and let her know that we would be asking that group to go talk to them because that's their property, not ours. So I did take those steps and those phone calls have been made. And whatever the school decides, that's up to the school, then we can work together if that's the case. But that would be the next step that we had talked about, is to send them to talk to the school because we don't have physical space in our part of the park to put any kind of a dog park in. So
My
that's what we-
understanding was what they had identified as the site that they were interested in is clearly on school property.
clearly on school property.
Okay,
I believe the line is essentially right up the gravel road to the left, to the right of the transfer station.
okay.
So all that to the right is school going up through there, and the town is all the left part of the park.
So you've reached
So-
out to the presenter.
I've reached out to both parties and let them know that this might be coming their way. I'm still waiting for the lady that wrote the letter to call me back to tell her that. But I did reach out to her and left her a message.
Matt, you're on recreation too. Any further
The
suggestions?
e-bikes.
And
Not on that topic.
Okay,
I'm definitely
So,
not opposed
Matt,
to
I have-
having a dog park if we can find space for it. Two acre dog park probably isn't gonna be feasible with how expensive the fencing is, but I wouldn't be opposed trying to find some money to put some sort of dog park up if we can find room for it. And
Yeah, and we looked and there isn't. It's-
yeah, if we can work with the school and we can get all that put together, I'm not opposed to trying to find some money to put a dog park up
good to,
for sure.
Yeah.
So,
You
so
have
here's a
some-
suggestion, folks. Okay, and I think I talked to Mary about this one time, and I'll bring it up to the full board and anybody else that's listening. It's always, I know how this property was acquired by the town and everything like that. I think that it's time for the select board to have a conversation with the school board about all of that property up there being under one management, which would be the town side, the municipal side. Unless the school has some specific plans that they want to do with that other properties that is the schools, I think it should all belong to the town, and it's all designed for recreation, and then it eliminates some of these concerns about who owns what and where's who's got what. Technically, the taxpayers pay for everything regardless if it's school or municipal, but it would really make life a lot easier if that all just was under one management. And then we could look into this, and with a little research and a little bit of work, maybe we can get some help, some money, some grants, something out there to put a dog park. Because I think that it's not a bad idea. Of course, this has all been brought about because not all pet owners, but a certain amount of pet owners fail to understand that when you are in Northwood, your dog has to be leashed. It has to be under that kind of management, and you have to clean up after your dog. So this is where the problem started. It didn't just show up overnight, and it's too bad because that's what the real issue is the folks that are using the current park are not being respectful, and they're not being courteous, and they're not being responsible. And that's why we had this discussion about stopping dogs there. So, but I think we should start some conversation with the school and just see where they are and what their plans, and maybe we just get this all under the town's municipal side, and that'll help a lot. Thanks.
okay, thanks, Joe. So if the board's agreeable, maybe what I'll do on the last suggestion is reach out to the chair of the school board and just float the idea and see how they're feeling about it.
Yep.
Not about the dog park, but specifically, but about management
Right.
of the area up there. So
Yep.
there, I see heads nodding. So if folks are okay with that, I will do that.
That would be a great idea.
Okay, thank you, Joe. That is a good idea. And then it sounds like you've opened some lines of communication.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
just see where it goes and we'll point them in the right direction
Okay,
best we can right now with what we have to work with.
all right. Thank you very much. Anything else for recreation?
Yeah, he's
Matt,
gonna
did
do
you
the
have something?
e-bikes.
Yeah, so we talked again about the issue of e-bikes that came up
E-bikes.
last time. And make a long story short, it was our recommendation that that we do not allow any motorized vehicles on the trails. So folks would be certainly allowed to ride an e-bike to the park and go in and then use the park for other purposes, but that they would not be allowed on the trails
Is that
or any other motorized.
different from what we already have as a policy? Do we have to do?
So, well, so right now there's a sign, yes,
I
that
took a
says
picture of
no
the sign
motor,
this
okay.
morning. And
Okay.
the sign up front reads, The sign up front reads following, it's open until dusk till dawn, no trespassing, no horses, ATVs, or golf. Dogs must be under owner control, cleaned up after, and prohibited from athletic fields. This is right on the big green sign when you walk in. No alcohol, smoking, no open fires, no motor vehicles allowed off paved or crushed stone areas. And then athletic fields and picnic areas may be reserved by calling the pool number. We have to change some of the signs, but that's all that's on the
It does say
sign.
no motorized. I mean, I don't know if it's worth replacing this sign for that. I think it's the kind of thing where we can deal with it as it comes up.
Yeah.
You know, if there's an issue and we can talk to people about it, but
It's
Well-
technically it's electric motor. It's motorized.
Right.
Exactly. And that's and I don't want to be the motor. There's a certain one bike that's like pedal assist. We're not, as I was telling the committee, we're not set up like a Pine Hill Park. We don't have miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of trails. So it's not like we're set up for that kind of thing to begin with. And I'm not policing it, but it's not a problem either. And I don't want it to create another problem like, oh, well, you motorize this, so I'll ride my motorized scooter or whatever's motorized now electronically. And then we kind of have an issue.
Mhm.
So we're just asking that anything motorized is not on the trails.
so
It's basically our.
right. So I think that's what the sign says now. So I don't think we need to take action as a board right now on this issue.
Okay,
More just informing you of what we came up with,
okay. So no motorized vehicles on the trails.
please.
Okay, good. Thank you, Rec Committee. Anything further? Any questions of Select Board members of Mike Rowe? Nope. Thank you very much. Our town second constable, Mike Delehanty, is not going to be joining us tonight, so we'll move to Chris Clark, our town fire chief. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, everyone. As usual, not too much. Mary already mentioned the open house this Saturday from 10 to noon. We're gonna have another open house at the Center Rutland Station on May 13th from 10 to noon also. And about two weeks ago tonight, I mentioned how many fire calls we had, and Mary jinxed us a little bit. We had about 3 calls those 2 weeks, and these last 2 weeks we've had 17. So Mary, you jinxed
Mary.
us.
I am so sorry. And I have been paying for that remark for about 2 weeks, so
Wow, 17.
I have no comments to make about the number of fire calls.
But other than that, it's going well, and that's about all I have for you.
Okay, any select board questions of our fire chief? Thank you, Chief Clark, for both of the open houses that are upcoming, and a reminder again that McKinley Avenue is going to be an open house this coming Saturday, so people can ask their questions. We're going to have folks on hand to provide some answers as to what we're planning for there and what the need is. So please do spend a few minutes on your way, maybe back from the transfer station, to stop in and say hi. Refreshments will be served. Okay. Thank you, Chief. Let's move on to Marcia Chioffi, our town lister. Good evening, Marcia.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to report that my new lister has begun on Monday, and actually yesterday was an interesting day because we had our district advisor, Christy Wright, with us all day long as the homestead renewal has been rolled over into VT Pi, and there were some problems with the VT Pi rollover, and Christy was with us, and we managed to get through it, and we managed to get with Nimerick to work out some of the bugs that we all encountered. I think that Jack's going to be a very welcome addition to the lister's office. He's hit the ground running. He's already taken a lot of classes online, and I think this is going to be a very good addition to the town. There continues to be issues with VTPI. Some of the modules that were supposed to have been rolled out are now being pushed back to 2024. One of them being the tax billing. Tax billing will still be done in Nimerick in the general portion of it, and the other thing is the business personal property is also being pushed back, so that will remain with the grand list and with G&K. Other than that, things are going great. We're rolling along. We're doing our homestead exemptions and verifying them, doing our sales verification with VTPI, and everything's looking good.
Thank you, Marcia. Are we going to, and I should have identified you as our head lister. And the Jack you referred to as Jack McCamley, who we appointed temporarily pending the election on May 23rd as our another lister in the office. Are we on track to lodge the grand list as of May 1st?
No. I think the entire state of Vermont is going to have to ask for a 30-day extension. And it's not May 1st, it's June 1st, Mary.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
I thought in the past it was May, but
no,
I stand corrected.
June 1st for towns of 5,000 or less. And then it's June 15th for over 5,000. So yeah, but I think I think the state is going to come down with the mandate that everything be pushed back 30 days, because there is no way that any of us can get a grand list together, by June 1st.
Okay, so if we're pushed back to July 1st, we're coming. Are we going to be able to get tax bills? A tax rate set and tax bills out?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not a problem. We will get the tax rate, set so that tax bills can go out, in towards the end of, middle of August is usually when we get the tax bills out.
Okay. So any questions of our lister's office from select board members? Nope. Okay, thank you very much, Marcia. Appreciate you staying on top of things.
All right, thank you.
All right, Kari Clark, Town Clerk and Treasurer. Come on up. I think you have a guest with you.
I do have.
Very good. Come on up. Sorry for your, thank you for your patience waiting.
They come up too?
Sure.
All right, great.
Rob's. I know.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, you're Mr. Kirk, Mark
Yes.
Kirk. All right.
Mark. Yep.
So
Yeah. So we'll start with Mark. So yeah, I did bring a guest with me today. Maybe within the last year or so, maybe a little more. I've been looking into companies for digitizing our records. I wanted to see what was out there and what it was going to look like for us in the future. And I know that our policy, we kind of need like 3 good quotes to go for. Mark represents COTS system, widely used around the area. I'll let him speak to it a little bit more, but he's one of the 3 that I have reached out to. I've received a quote from his company and a quote from another company and still haven't received a quote from the third company. And, I'm not going to chase people. But I do want to say that, Mark has been, he emails me and he's come by our office several times. I've met him right when I first started, especially when COVID hit, and he's been the constant. So he actually just popped in a couple weeks ago, and they had just got through kind of a major thing in their company, and I thought that, well, why not just have him just talk about the company real quickly and what they could do for us and what they just went through, just as a starting point, because I know some people, not necessarily us, but others listening may still have some questions about putting our records online and what that entails. I'll let him talk for a little bit. I do have a few other things. I don't know if you want me to on those, but we'll let Mark talk first.
Yeah, let's hear from Mr. Kirk. Go ahead.
Right, thanks. Mark Kirk. I'm from Connecticut, from Stores. We're the basketball college center of the universe, I guess, is for women. Men won this year too, but I cover all of New England for COTS systems. I have 60 plus towns here in Vermont. I've been there 4 years. About 3 years ago, your state legislators gave every town $20,000 to buy a land record system. At that time, I think there was probably less than 50 towns that had land record systems and had their images online. And so they gave every town $20,000. I signed up, I think, 23 towns in a couple months. I can't believe everybody didn't take the legislators up on that offer. I'm wondering why you guys didn't.
We had a person who was not. There were questions about security. I think that's fair. I do title search. I have done title searches, so I'm aware of the COTS system and the real advantages to having land records online. Yeah. But I am cautious of the security concerns. So maybe if you could address,
sure,
try and put our and that was the primary reason, I think.
Okay. So I have as customers around here, the city of Rutland, I have West Rutland, I have Mendon, I have someone mentioned Brandon, I have Clarendon, I have Wallingford. So
I think you have Pittsford, or you?
Yes, Pittsford. Yeah. So I've got you surrounded everywhere by our systems. And I would urge you to go and talk to any of them. Don't listen to what a salesman says. Go talk to them. As far as the security goes, on Christmas Eve, we got hacked. We were with a dozen other companies that got hacked. The evildoers chose Christmas Eve because they needed a couple of hours to get in undisturbed and do their dirty work. And then when we got in Christmas morning and discovered that we'd been hacked and shut down the system, by then we were locked out of everything. So we had to pay ransomware in order to get out of it. The FBI and Homeland Security, who we worked with, and cyber experts and all this other stuff, said that they knew who the criminals were, and they were, let's say, benevolent businessmen, meaning that all they wanted was their money. They didn't care about the data. They didn't want to steal data. They didn't want to destroy the data or the images in the system because it would ruin their reputation. So you can imagine if they did that and then somebody else gets hacked by them, the FBI says, don't pay them because they're going to, destroy things anyway. It took us a while to get back on our feet. And I should mention that at that point, our insurance policy covered ransomware attacks. And in order to get that policy, we had to put a whole bunch of steps in place to protect us. It didn't stop them from getting us. So our insurance policy covered all of that. expense, but it took us a couple of weeks to get back online. And then when we did, we ran out of storage because we'll get into all of that, but it took Dell about a month to get us back up and running with all the storage. And so for that period of time, for almost 2 months, we were down. Everybody had to come back into the office like the old days to do recordings. They couldn't search online, and they all had to come in. So it was a real bummer for the public and for the attorneys. Since then, we put a couple of steps in place, and we're doing more. And again, I won't get into all the specifics unless you care about that. But needless to say, we think we're a whole lot stronger than we were before in preventing other attacks. As far as to our knowledge, they didn't steal any data. They didn't destroy anything. And as far as that goes, if somebody wanted to steal data, they could come right into your vault and do it. It just makes it easier if you're online. You save yourself a plane ticket. So that's where we are. And, just saying, I've given, I think, 2 proposals to you. I just sold one to Berlin, Vermont, last month. They installed last week. They didn't get anybody to respond to theirs. They put out, there's 3 or 4 other vendors in the state, but frankly, a lot of these companies ignore Vermont because you're so small, to put it bluntly. So you're gonna have a hard time finding somebody to come in and even bid on a land record system. So I'm here anytime you guys want to do it. Be glad to help you out. I mentioned to Bill last time I was here, you guys were the first town to get a website, right? And I would think that you'd want to go online for a lot of the same reasons. That's where the technology is going, and it's a convenience to your residents, and it would certainly help Kari out in her office a lot more efficient recording on our land record system than it is doing it manually or in NIMRIC.
Yeah, now.
So am I understanding correctly then once you go digital with this system, there's no more paper that's...
Oh, no, there's still paper.
That's a requirement. We have to back it up.
Okay, so
you scan that paper.
Annual.
So a deed still has to be on a paper, a mortgage, whatever, and it gets scanned in, and then the digital images put on the cloud. So if you wanted to get a copy of your deed, you could go online.
So why is it that this hack then prevented people from doing searches? Because they just didn't want to go.
Because they locked down our system.
Right, but they could still go and search the paper.
Oh yes, they could still search.
But they just didn't want to search the paper.
No, they did, but they'd have to come in.
Well, that's what I mean. They could have.
Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that there was a hack didn't really prevent people from doing it if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
And in terms of security, it's all public information anyway. So
Right.
what are you securing? It's in a public vault that you can come in and look at anyway.
And I should mention too that when the pandemic hit, a lot of the offices were closed and they couldn't come in and see the paper.
Yeah.
So unless you had it online, I think that's one of the reasons the CARES Act came along, because the housing industry was virtually shut down for months because people
In a
couldn't buy
few
some.
towns, I think most ended up very quickly getting pressured by title insurance companies and lawyers to have some accommodation, and we did here. So we were open, but it was by appointment, and that seemed to work okay. It wasn't perfect. What I have used this for is I still come in and do the search in person, but when I want to know if a mortgage discharge has been recorded, I just go on, and frankly, as a guest, because I don't want to pay for it. So I just scan, and you can at the first level go in as a guest and see what documents have come in and been recorded. You can't get the documents unless you pay the fee.
You can't print them.
You can't print them. But I found that very useful because I can scan, just go online and find out if the documents have been recorded, if the discharges come in, and then I go verify in person. But that's my preference. I know a lot of lawyers, and probably Paris now, do it remotely. I guess the concern that I heard was, can deeds be manipulated, and can people have a fake quitclaim deed recorded that transfers title away from someone?
Yeah, I would, that does happen. We have a product called Property Check, which is very popular in Connecticut. I'm going to be rolling it out here next month in Vermont. And we did a demo for the state archivist in the PRIA chapter on Friday, and we talked about this. The main topic of that was e-recording, which is something else that's coming into the state eventually, and you'll need a land record system to do that. But the Property Check allows the residents for free to go into our site and put in their name and address. And if a recording's done in this town that hits on that name or address, they get an email notification. It says, hey, a deed was just taken out on your property. Did you know?
Yeah.
And as I said, it's very popular in the towns in Connecticut where I've introduced it. We've had a lot of the residents driving that, going to the town clerks and saying, hey, Waterford has it. How come you guys don't have it? I have a grandma in your town, and I'm worried about, things. So I want to monitor her property for her. But to your question, yeah, there's always fraud. I don't think having it online, I haven't heard that it makes it more conducive to fraud.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Kirk about no. Nice, but no. Joey, do you have any?
I don't have any questions. I fully support this endeavor. I have right along, and it comes to mind back during the pandemic, the gentleman from Bennington that drove an hour and a half to our town office to spend 10 minutes in the vault and then drove an hour and a half back home. I think this is a public service that is long overdue. With the pandemic, a lot of stuff has been done remotely. I'm in my office in my house, so I think that we need to go forward with this. As far as Kari has given due diligence to what the town requires, trying to get 3 prices, she's been able to get 2, and I just think it's time to move forward and let's get this done. I think this is how we're going. You can be only as secure as technology allows, and we all know that there are, for every security system that comes down, there's some group or some individual that is their mission in life to raise hell, and they're going to try to beat it. So it's as secure as anything, I think this is a good way to go.
Okay, we don't have docs in front of us. Kari, maybe for the next meeting, should we ask Kari to pull the bids that she has gotten? Now, we didn't go out, you're correct, to the bidding process that we are called for. And I should pose that first to the select board. What we usually do when the cost is anticipated to be over $5,000, we put something out to bid. We post a notice, and then we also reach out to various vendors and ask if they want to bid. We didn't quite do that. This is sort of an abbreviated process. And if you're satisfied with that, then you can, we can take a look at it at our next meeting. if you want to go through the formal bid process, we should have Kari put something together and post that as we usually do. What's your pleasure?
I think from my perspective, because this is a highly specialized field and there are only limited companies in there that, I think the way she did it is actually better because you're looking at reputable firms that provide this service and you can get some background and you can get some feedback from other communities. So, been almost 2 years at this. I think that if anybody wanted to participate, she put out 3 feelers and only got 2 back. That tells me there isn't a lot of interest, or I won't say interest, but there's, we're a small state, as Mark said, and so maybe they don't want to, be part of it. And he's got half the state of Vermont, or a quarter of the state of Vermont lined up already out of the 250. So I'm good.
Okay. Other select board members?
Well, so there's one other we know that may be interested. So I would suggest, giving them an opportunity to put in their formal proposal at this point.
The second person that I do have a quote from actually reached out to me by email or only on Tuesday. I think it was last week. I just wondered where we were in the process. So I can get those 2 things ready for you for next time. I don't know if you wanted to update anything before then. I can certainly do that, and then I'll get everything ready for them.
And so we're shortcutting our process a bit. Is that okay with the other select board members?
I don't think you're gonna find anybody else that put bid in on it anyway. So
Well, it seems like you went looking for.
Certainly tried, definitely got 2. That third one kind of dropped off.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to be cynical, but it sounds like the second one you got hasn't given you any information, just has a willingness.
Oh, no. I have 2 quotes out of 3
good.
people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they come in and do a vault check and all that other
Yes,
stuff?
all 3 of you guys did, but like I kind of, Mark he's been consistently
Okay.
here for us. So I'll give you everything that we have, and we can talk about it a little more.
Okay. So Bill, if you could add that to our agenda for next meeting, that would be great. Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Kirk, or should we go to our town clerk's report?
Take off then.
You certainly can. He does have a drive, and I appreciate that he came here tonight.
Yes,
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Have a safe drive. Thank you.
Okay, Kari, what's up?
So several things.
I bet.
I'm sorry. Okay, what shall I start with? Well, I have a liquor license for you. You want to pass that over? That is for Johnny Boy's. Last one, I do believe that we need to approve.
Yeah.
So
Petroni.
all of us have to sign, Kari.
Yeah, wait
You
just a
guys
sec.
talk about it.
So what we usually do is, this is a liquor license. What class is it?
There's 2 of them.
Okay.
I want to say 3rd and 1st.
Let's see. Papagayo Inc. This is a 3rd class and a 1st class restaurant bar license. Okay, question that we usually ask our chief of police. Any difficulties with this establishment? No problems at Johnny Boy's. I do notice that the place is up for sale.
Yes.
So what happens if is the liquor license specific to this business and the individual, or?
Because we went through that with the changeover next door.
Okay.
And they had to reissue.
Okay.
They had to reapply for under their own.
So, is there a motion to approve or otherwise?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 1st and 3rd class liquor licenses for Johnny Boy's Papagayo Inc. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. So we all sign this.
Hour and 15 minutes in, we just made our first motion.
Wait.
Well, Mr. Petroni will be very pleased.
We did another motion.
And he has
We
Clifford.
approved the minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine.
All right.
technicalities.
Second quick thing
Yep.
that I can say is, third and final payment for taxes
Yep.
due May 10th. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Let's see. I'll leave. There's two last things that are kind of large. I won't drag it out. So another reminder that we have our special election that we'll discuss, have the article for the new public safety building on the 23rd of May. I believe I have covered everything that I have needed to for this election, meaning ballot is created after the warning was signed this past week. Ballot will be up in various areas so that it can be previewed beforehand. This is kind of what it looks like. It's two-sided. It's being mailed to every active voter in Rutland Town as of, did I make that mailing? Friday, as of Friday's date, whatever that was. I say that because the mailing list is, I'm using Quick Print. They are being phenomenal, by the way. They are going to they're printing them, they're stuffing them, and they're sending them out for us, so that we don't have to take time to do that for 3,000 pieces of mail.
Right.
And I appreciate that so much. They are lovely to work with. So they assure me that these will be out in the mail by Friday. So voters look for these ballots over the weekend and beginning next week and start filling them out and sending them back. Everything is paid for. You just need to fill it out, stuff it, and send it back to us, and it'll come back here. If you don't wish to do that, we will have polls open as usual in the usual places on May 23rd from the usual hours of 7 to 7.
And people can still come in and vote here in advance of town meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is really important. It's to do with the public safety building and 6 open positions in the town. So it is quite important. So there's that. And reminders are everywhere. Herald, everywhere we post. Transfer station, if you wish to see this. I'll put it up on the website or on Facebook so that this will be available and such. Everything is ready to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Last thing. We decided as a committee, the last time the Financial and Personnel Committee met, that we were going to make it a regular practice for the select board members to have copies of what Nimric and myself like to call the budget status report, which basically is the report that every department head in the town receives before coding their bills. And it's broken down to in departments in every line, expense line and revenue line that the departments have. And it is a snapshot in time. This one in particular is just after we paid the last batch of payroll and accounts payable. So these are the budget balances as of then. And this, what you signed off on today, will that's in the orders. That will be a new report will be generated this week that will be then sent off to you for 2 weeks from now to read at your pleasure. So again, I don't want to bore anyone. Basically at this point in time in the budget, we have about May and June. So our year closes at the end of June. So we have 2 months. This is reflected halfway through April. So 2.5 months of money left in each of these line items. So all department heads, this isn't new for anyone. They are aware that what their budget balances are and if they need to be careful in their spending for the next 2.5 months. So it goes in the order of police department, then general has 4 pages of data. So that's a chunk. And then it goes to highway, and then I believe fire and recreation. Everyone's doing really well in their budget. There are explanations for certain things that are over budget at this point. I believe that the department heads have either explained them or I can explain them if they haven't. For example, everyone has a pretty much either close to or over their line in vehicle fuel. I think we all understand why. Also, we all had a significant change this year in our telephone system with consolidated communications. And that is showing in some department lines as well. And it's not that in some cases we've added a couple lines. I know Bill had explained it to us when we were getting that up and going. And for example, I know personally that fire, they lost their cable system, but they gained money that they've had to pay out for their telephone line. So his line for telephone is going to be over where the cable is kind of stopped because it stopped. So there's explanations for lots of things. I know that Mary and Matt and I discussed going through each of these reports and kind of giving a heads up in each department. I really don't want to take a ton of time in any fashion any more than I have to. In general, basically, there's a couple departments that have several lines that are over. And if you have any questions, I could probably answer why they're over, or department head has already discussed that. Do you have any questions at first before I kind of go through these?
Start any, thank you very much. This is what I'm familiar with looking at in other organizations. So this is a way of keeping track, especially as we close down toward the end of this fiscal year, and the departments have this as well. So I would urge and you have been, the department heads, keep an eye on this and just make sure if there's an expense item that you're over on, or close to the line on, consider whether you really need to be expending something in this fiscal year. We've got 2.5 months to go. I don't want you to cut back on any essential services, but do keep this in mind. Questions? Any questions that the select board members might want to pose? I have one. It's on page 3.
Okay.
And this is the general fund.
Yes.
It's midway down the town report.
Yes.
That was considerably over budget. We had budgeted $5,000 for it, and it came in at 7122.
See that?
Yeah,
I saw that too.
yeah. So that was more than we expected, and so we need to either budget for more or cut back on what we're printing. Or any idea of why it was up?
I would, before I answer that question, I would entertain maybe looking into other companies this time around. But again, I was going to answer it with, I have a partner in crime.
Are we looking at Bill?
I am looking in that direction. He solely does that portion of it. bill.
Part of that included, I don't know if the postage we paid to them got put in that line or not.
Could have been.
If it was put in that line, and maybe it should be
That might
posted.
be why.
But I think we have a contract for another year with them at the same rate, but when we created the budget was before we got the new contract.
You're
The
right.
new contract, they said the cost of paper was just more than they could absorb, so we had went with them because we've been with them. But they have been a very good partner. We haven't, they've been doing it since I've been here. But that was after the budgeting was done, not knowing there was going to be a large increase in the cost of paper. So we did take a few pages out of the report, which actually saved us a few $100s. I think I factored like every page was like $80.
Okay.
So it made a big difference. So yeah, it was the increase in the materials, but we didn't know that until we didn't know that in the budgeting process. So it just was
Okay.
And postage, I will look into seeing if we put the postage in there. Postage
Went
has
up.
increased.
Yes,
I
it
don't know
has.
if you guys know that. I looked
Yes.
into it.
Yeah.
Gross.
63 cents for a stamp now.
It's gross.
So
Metering is a little cheaper. So if we don't have a postage, we do we have a postage meter here?
we have a meter.
no, we don't.
Okay.
We have a
Oh, okay. So we may want to look into meters because it would be a little cheaper.
Have the monthly service cost outweighs the benefit.
Okay, good to know.
It's a great thing. We don't do enough volume to make it worth it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, questions, Matt?
So first a comment, I would suggest that, the committees each focus on their particular areas and ask more detailed questions, maybe in committee meetings. We don't want to take the time to go through it all now, but if I could, I'll just ask one question now, since this is the first time looking at this, and I'm not sure about a lot of things that are probably going on here, but just take the police report here up top to start with. So I see, for example, I'm sorry, not on the police. This is the general fund, the second page.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got tax revenue, of course, right at the top, and we have zero in his budget.
Oh, so the
Is that,
top,
how does
these
that
are,
get
so
worked
this
in?
is the revenue section.
Right.
General has a significant revenue section. So we don't budget for what we collect in taxes. So we just kind of, this is the actual is what we've taken in thus far. So it's kind of the program is a little bit wonky on a general eye. I'm assuming that if you are doing accounting for a living, it's a little more user friendly to that kind of an eye. Be wary that some lines here are just in and out kind of thing. Like delinquent taxes, or I believe there was another, there's several of them, but I was going to give an example of, if you look at for an expense on page 4, about 6 or 7 lines down, there's a retiree insurance line. This is just an example of that's money coming in and going out. So we have people that are retired that pay us for their insurance, and then we then hold that money and pay it out to the insurance. So it reads that way in some instances. So it's a little tricky to read.
Well, so
what I suggest is to look. Mary and I were basically looking at the budget balance column and the percentage of the actual budget, especially in the expense section. And if anything is significantly over 100%, we were wondering what was going on there. So that town report line shows 142% because it's over. So it's
But if you're looking at bottom lines, I mean, are you suggesting to ignore most of it and simply look at the total expenditures, actual versus budget, and focus not just on that? Or
Yes.
how would you suggest we like evaluate?
In a way, because we're still waiting on tax revenue and we have a third installment. So we have to take that into consideration, that it's not showing up there, that we're expecting a certain amount of money for each department. So you have to take that into consideration when you're looking at the budget.
So is the budget column on here year to date, or is that for the whole fiscal year?
Fiscal year to date. Yeah.
Year to date.
Year to date.
Okay.
Fiscal year to date.
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably confused you more.
Yeah, you
And
did.
Well, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I guess I wonder why you wouldn't have an estimate in here, and in this, maybe I need to compare to what was actually in the town report, but when we have an estimate of what our tax revenue would be through the first two installments.
I see what you're saying. I can look into
But
why
I don't
we
know if that's
do
something
it.
the program would just automatically produce if there's some reason why it's.
I can look into it. I have to manually put a lot of the budget figures in every time we close the year out. That's why I said fiscal year. Like we close it out and then I go in and I have to put in all the voter approved budgets in there. So like when somebody enters a bill and I enter it, it may ding at me and say that's over budget. So we have that ability, but I know what you're asking and I will look into maybe is there a reason why we don't put that in there?
Yeah, I mean, because one way to look at this is just what are the actual expenses versus what the budgeted expenses were. That's sort of what we can control to some extent. Obviously, there are revenue sides on each of these budgets for different reasons.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I think this will be a great help, and thank you very much. We have the fiduciary responsibility of making sure we know where all of the numbers for all of the departments are. So this is going to help us do that job better.
As I said, if you have any suggestions, I'm flexible and what you need me to do.
Okay. Okay. Anything else for our town clerk and treasurer?
I've taken up enough time.
Good job. Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks, Kari.
You're welcome.
All right. Barbara Noyes Pulling, Town Planning Commission. Hey, Barbara, are you there?
I know.
She was. I know she's.
Was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go on to Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner. We'll come back to Barbara.
Yeah.
Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, all. Anyway, been busy. So right after the last meeting, we kind of finished cleaning up all of our winter equipment, got it all disconnected and put away, and so that's behind us. And the next day it snowed, but that's okay.
So you're not jinxing anything. And
No, it snowed the day after we put it all away. It snowed the day after we put it all away, and we just watched it through the window. Like,
Okay.
yeah, do it.
Okay.
I've been working on a 5-year paving list, trying to get something. Sounds easier than it is. Talked with Joe several times about paving, and he kind of suggested we try to kind of group things together. And the way that everything has been paved, it's almost impossible at this point. So some stuff is going to get paved sooner than it probably should. And it's just, it's really a puzzle at this point, but I got like 3 years, so I'm headed there. We spent some time last week working on the shared use path. We had about
7-foot fill we had to do, right at the beginning where it breaks off of the existing trail.
Yeah.
So, we don't really have the right equipment right now, so there's some big stumps on the existing path. And we couldn't really get around them with a truck or the loader or anything, so we've been using the little small tractor with the little tiny bucket on it, and it's taken forever, but we're getting there.
Just a request. I've walked the main loop a couple of times, so just please keep the main loop, the main trail walkable.
We're
I know-
trying to.
Yeah, okay, thanks, because it was, yeah. It's good to see the progress, though.
We're making
Yeah,
small bits of progress, and we worked on it last fall or December, I guess, and did actually get the path laid out, and we got the trees cut off it down to where it's going out to Chesson, and we haven't tackled those things yet, but some of those trees are as big as this room.
and I think and Joey will probably know, but we do have to do some plantings, I believe, for the landowner that whose land we crossed in order to
Yep.
get the easement. That was part of what we said we would
Right.
do. So,
And
okay.
there's some trees to cut and a fence to put up and
Yeah.
Right.
stuff like that.
And Bill's working on getting the easement stuff. We got 3 we need now. We got 3 easements we need for the post road sidewalk. We're trying to move forward on that.
Yep.
We spent some time last week replacing and or repairing mailboxes. Always a fun thing. Not so much. We are undertaking a small project. We were doing some stuff up at where the brush pile is. And I noticed all of the leaf debris and all that stuff. And I said, well, why don't we make our own compost pile?
Yes,
So we did,
good.
we got one started anyway.
Hey,
So, that was kind of,
That was the look of a nun.
well,
I
no,
know.
I'm really glad.
I know you are, but that
Yes.
still was the look of a nun.
Yeah. So,
There's a lot of stuff that if you ever had an excavator up there, you could get pulled down off the.
yeah,
old
that's,
stump
we were
dump.
trying to get it with the loader and you
Yeah.
get out on the end and it kind of sags out and it kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah. And then,
But- but we got a pretty decent pile started and it was stuff that had been sitting there all winter. And as soon as we pulled it up, the steam was rolling out of it. It was cooking pretty good. So,
and then in the past, you used to stockpile all the topsoil and then put out the bid of somebody come in and screen it and
Yep.
screen it all. And then you'll have a nice screen pile you can work off of.
We did a number of projects. Yeah.
yeah, so we kind of got that going. Hoping to maybe start doing some plow damage tomorrow. We kind of got set back with the rain and that screwed us up a little bit, but we should get out there and start cleaning up some lawns. Nancy McGuire has commandeered the bulk of our shop
Yes.
for her tree sale next week. Not this weekend, next weekend.
No, it's Saturday.
Or it's this Saturday, I'm sorry.
Because I
She's
gotta
been there
pick
2
up my
weeks, so
stuff there
yeah,
Yeah.
she's been there for 2
among
weeks.
all of the other things we're doing. Yeah.
Yep.
This
so-
is the Natural Resource Conservation District of Rutland County, and this is something we've been able to do for most years. It's great.
Mhm.
They have great deals on trees and shrubs.
And she's getting, I think she said she has some raspberry plants coming in this week, so. Trying to find somebody to do some grading for us on Quarterline and Boardman Hill. I'm talking to a couple people. Try to get that graded before the Clarendon residents start screaming. Which is around the corner. And last but not least, Green Up Day is May 6th.
I was talking to myself.
Oh.
I do that.
There are some bags here. Kari has them in the treasurer's office. And I took a bunch of them up to the transfer station and I believe Dell's passing those out.
Yes, I got some from him.
I just asked that if anybody leaves bags wherever, just call our office, 802-773-8128.
and just leave a message where they are, because we're not on every street all the time, and there's bags out there for a month or something. We'll just, if I know where they are, we'll go out and shag everything that following week.
Okay.
That's what I got.
Questions of our road commissioner? No.
Second plow truck show up yet?
No, they just got it back out of Kenworth last week, and they took it back down to Westminster, and the guys at Kenworth said, you need a list of things. And so they're taking it back down there to do whatever they need to do. But I did call Kenworth because I got some contacts there, and I talked to the general manager, and he went and talked to the mechanics that did the work on it. And I said, is it a heap? Because if it's a heap, I've seen it twice and I have never seen it run right. And they're like, nope, it'll make you a good truck. So, that came from their head tech. So
Maybe in time for fall.
I'm hoping. No promises.
Joey, do you have anything of our road commissioner?
No, other than we'll try to get together and discuss that, project off of Route 4A there in Center Rutland. Work around Dave's busy schedule and Kurt's busy schedule and my busy schedule, and we'll try to get together.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Barbara's all set.
Oh, Barbara. Okay, Barbara noise pulling.
Yes, yeah, sorry about that. My internet dropped out just, I think, seconds before Kari was winding up. So hi, good evening. The Planning Commission has made it through the update of the subdivision ordinance. It took quite a while. There's quite a few changes. So that's now in front of the town attorney for him to look over. And hopefully we'll be sending that to you sometime soon. And the only other thing I have tonight is the short-term rentals ordinance, the draft we have for that. So we have the public informational meeting set up for May 11th. That would be at the beginning of a planning commission meeting. So at 6:30 on that Thursday evening. We're getting publicity out there. We're getting some comments. So we decided to come up with a list of frequently asked questions. And we've got 15 already, and we'll keep adding as they come in. And we'll get that published as well, that list. And so it goes. That's all I have this evening.
That was a nice bit of work on the frequently asked questions. I did see a copy of that, and I think that will help address some direct issues we've heard about out there. So thank you.
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Questions of Barbara? Matt.
So I will have questions on the short-term rental thing, but I don't know if I will make it to the meeting. Would you like an emailed list? Maybe they're already addressed in your FAQs. I don't know.
Yeah, they might be. So I'll send a copy of that to the board. So you can look over, and if there's anything missing there, Matt, yeah, let us know.
Okay.
And maybe we'll add it to the list.
Sharon, Kurt, Joe, anything with Barbara?
All set, thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Okay, thanks for letting me squeeze in.
Sure. Ed Dumas, Town Police Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Come to you in plain clothes today because I am on vacation.
Oh.
So we had 64 calls for service and 2 traffic stops in the last period. We're quite busy. South end of town is still a hot spot. Any questions on?
Oh. Okay, well, I was looking at the chart on page. What's the third page, top 10 offenses, which, and at first I went, wow, look at, but there's only
4.
4, so, okay,
Half or more vehicles.
okay. And then people do like charts,
I
but
think the last period we had, somebody going through Colonial Estates and the state police actually got that gentleman. And they let him go to the city to steal.
Great.
oh, okay.
Fabulous.
Good. Okay, any questions of our police chief?
I do have one other item. I don't.
Yep.
It's in reference to workman's comp. We have an officer who's out on workman's comp, and I believe if I get this wrong, I think Leagues of Cities and Towns said he wasn't entitled to collect any holiday or sick time while he was on workman's comp.
I thought we did this.
Maybe you did. I
Did
don't.
we do this in personnel or did we just realize that we needed to do it in personnel? Okay.
So I know with Officer Gamble, the town was ready to him and helped them out. They were hurt on duty. Why would they be punished for being hurt on duty, not to be able to collect, even though they're off, to collect their holiday and their sick leaves while that happens?
But we did talk about it. Didn't we do this in personnel, Matt?
Not during my time.
Okay. Now I'm imagining committee meetings. I've
My
attended.
long tenure.
You could say you didn't really care for personnel.
I think I said that. This is why.
So let's do this. Let's set up a personnel committee meeting and we'll.
That sounds like a blast. Let's do that.
Okay, thank you. Just that's all I have.
You know what else we can do during that meeting? We can look at these budgets.
Yeah.
Because it's personnel and finance.
Just the guy's sick time.
I did tell you about Matt's sense of humor before we brought him on, right? Did I warn you about that?
Spend an executive session.
Okay,
I
so
was in the same Rotary Club I was in.
let's find a time we can meet because I know you haven't been to enough meetings yet. So and we'll take this issue up. Yeah.
You can email or give me a call and we'll figure it out.
Okay. Good enough.
Hopefully not this week.
No, not this week.
Any questions?
Okay.
We good?
Any other select board questions for Police Chief Ed Dumas?
I would like to comment on our canine officer and our canine.
Yes.
I know he's been called out a few times now for, I know he's done some drug fines for other agencies, which is fantastic. We're waiting, I think, right now in the middle of doing search warrants to get into the items they seize. So when I hear more, I'll let you know, or when I can talk about it, I'll let you know. Honestly, he is being quite useful.
Good. Can we bill the other departments for our dog's use?
We don't usually know.
Let's swap something.
Like mutual aid in the fire departments.
Right.
You just swap it around.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Okay, is John Paul on the line? Okay, John Paul Faignant, Town Health Officer, Public Safety Building Clerk and Second Constable. As I mentioned, we did have a meeting earlier, so
None of them here.
none of the above are here. Okay, Bill Sweet, Town Administrator. Okay,
Went pretty well, actually.
aren't you jinxing it?
Nope, not at all. By the time I get here, I'm usually in control of the rest of this goes. So the rest of the public part of it goes. So, couple things in the packet to go over. Nothing too complicated. And then you have some things on your desks.
Yeah.
In the packet, we have
a appointment form for the Otter Creek Communication Union Board. This is a group of towns that have formed this union to help further broadband in their towns. I currently am the appointment from our town to this board. I would not say I'm an active member, but they've asked us to appoint someone for the next year.
Do they meet?
Oh, regularly.
How often?
At least once a month.
Really? Okay.
But it's Wednesdays at like 5:30. It's a unfortunate time. So that time is very complicated for me. So I've not been able to make a meeting. Their goals are to help just get broadband built out in their towns. I really haven't attended because we really don't have that big of a problem. We're actually one of the very fortunate towns in the county that we have very extensive broadband. So
It's all built now.
yeah, I don't know of any that we don't have any, at least accessible to it. So they're looking for an appointment. If someone else wants to do it, that feels strongly about it, I would willingly pass that torch along. But if you want to leave me on there, that's fine too.
What's your pleasure?
I think we leave Bill on.
It's fine. Done. Yeah.
I mean, he knows what we need and what we don't need.
If you know, I have tried to get a couple meetings and there's been a couple ones that are like, we didn't really anybody attend, and it's just the timing is just,
And that's okay, because it's not hurting us.
It's not. And I feel bad because I know there's towns out there that really need the help, but a lot of this came after the ARPA funds came, because that is one of the uses it was used for, but we obviously have dedicated all of our money to that. So we don't have money to put, like, there was a lot of reasons that we aren't participating, but I will try to get some of the meetings just to make an appearance, but,
yes,
but anyway, they're nice people.
Well,
but
there's
you do
also a space for 2 alternates.
there are space for 2 alternates. Yes. If anybody feels like
Interesting.
to be alternate.
Volunteering yourself, Mary?
No, but Matt's leaning forward as if he's going to.
Well, how about we put Rich Sweet in there as the alternate.
That's great. That's a great suggestion. Whatever you like to do. I mean, I mean, if we wanted to put somebody in there, if we want, I put me back in there. So if somebody came up forward and said, "Hey, I'd like to, get involved with this," it's they have to be from the town. They have to be from the town. So
Maybe Mike Rowe.
I think the last big
Maybe
unserviced part of the town was Northwood Park, and we took care of that. So
take a couple of minutes. Well, maybe put something out there that this position, somebody that has an interest in it, maybe somebody will come along. If Bill can't make the meetings, and I don't think we should burden him with a job, Wednesdays are sacred in the fire service, and everybody knows that. So I'm thinking that maybe we ought to just put a little notice maybe out there somewhere and see if somebody's interested in participating. Granted, we don't need the service as well, but somebody might have some help or information that'll help another town. And so I think would be a good way to do it.
we can work on that.
Okay,
That's a
so
fine idea.
yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. Let's put something on our website.
Sure.
Looking for
I can make a little, so if you want,
perhaps 2 alternates
you want
potentially.
to hold off on that, we can.
Okay.
There's really no.
You
urgency.
okay with holding off on that?
Yeah, it's
Looks like that's
it's
okay.
not an urgent request, so that's okay.
Okay.
Keeping with the appointments, we did just get a request, and Mary has the forms from the Regional Planning Commission for our annual appointment for a regional board of commissioner and the Transportation Advisory Council. And Dave has already told me he's eager to get back in there for the Transportation Council.
Okay, so these are both under the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. This is the TAC, Regional Transportation Advisory Committee. It's already filled in with Dave Sears' name on it, so I wouldn't mess that up. And
How convenient.
is there any alternate? Anyone interested in being an alternate? Dead silence in the room.
Let's go.
Jim Hall has been in the past, but he is no longer interested. So,
I'll blame him.
so this is, if there is there a motion to appoint Dave Sears?
So move.
Second.
People eagerly rushing to put Dave's name forward. And actually, if you could, I think there's only one signature line and that would be for the chair. Is that motion including having me sign on behalf of the select board?
Amen.
Okay.
Sure is.
All in favor, quickly before he changes his mind, of Dave Sears for the TAC under the Rutland Regional Planning Commission, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Say sorry, it was fine.
Okay. Related to that now is a planning commissioner, our representative to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission. And this is open. In the past, Jim Hall has been our primary person. He is no longer interested. We didn't have a secondary. I've been interested in this, but unfortunately they meet on Tuesdays. So there's a conflict with the select board meetings, which frankly, I think that's when most town select boards meet around the county. So I think that's an ongoing issue. Maybe we should add this unless somebody here is interested in participating. Looking around the Fred?
Sure.
Oh, good.
I would be interested in going back on the board.
Okay, you were there for a while. I remember. Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah, roughly. Okay.
So move.
Second.
This is one where I also have to sign. There's only one signature line.
Sure.
That's in the motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's in there.
I heard it.
So motion's made and seconded to appoint Fred Nicholson as our representative to the Rutland Regional Planning Commission.
Thanks, Fred.
We're still on.
Nope.
So she jettisoned.
From that.
No further discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This isn't filled in. Do you want me to sign
Well,
it anyway?
Uh,
Or just do once?
for in the morning.
Yeah, I can come over.
Okay, so I can make it.
Okay,
I can print it out that way, so it's easier. So
Okay.
yes, that's fine.
thank you, Fred.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay, what else you
Okay,
got?
that's it for the appointments. At the moment, we still have our historical appointments we haven't really dealt with, but some of the people are a little bit more difficult to get a hold of. So
Okay.
I'm not sure how we want to.
We're gonna have to change our way or Cole.
I don't know. I saw that.
Be moving out of town.
Israel.
If he moves out of town, then yes. But well, then that's maybe not
Yes.
a problem.
Yeah.
So I got a new appointment for that. I went out
Okay.
and found somebody.
Okay,
Okay.
Be Lucas Hubbard.
okay.
So I have a phone number.
Is he wants to do it?
Yeah.
Does
Okay.
anybody ever actually weigh any coal?
I think it's in case of a dispute,
It's
right?
more, yeah. I mean, Israel always has a scale at the scrapyard, and the only other scale in town is Hubbard's. That's
Okay.
family owned.
That
So
would do it.
I reached out to him, and he said he'd do it.
They're good guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll move that we appoint Lucas Hubbard as weigher of coal for the town. of
Second.
Rutland. Perfect.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Is he interested in any of the coveted fence viewer positions?
Yeah.
There are 3.
Okay, so the motion carries and we have a new wearer of,
Well, I said something about maybe beating the fence here if there's a slot.
when you
Is Steve
post the
still on
notice.
fence viewer?
He is.
Oh, dear.
Yes, he is.
Has he ever viewed a fence?
Yes, they
So they're
had
gonna have to
to
go
go
to
once.
Susanna Drive and look at a fence that's not there.
Right. No, he had to go once for something that fence viewers.
Yeah, it has
It was
a lot
like
to do with
once in
property
10
line
years.
disputes,
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Horrible, but.
Yeah.
So why don't we post those? Cause you're gonna put a notice up about the
Yeah,
other vacant. Why don't we
I
put
can
those
work on
up?
doing a combination like,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
let's do that.
That should
Okay.
work.
Takes
Um,
care of.
Okay. B in your packet, I think is the information needed for your executive session discussion.
I do believe there's a. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then C relates to I put a copy of
Oh,
another
yes.
letter from I put the copy of the letter from Brad Keith on your desks, the letter that was in your packet was from Connor Gallipo. So Brad Keith is stepping away from his lawn mowing business. He's been mowing the lawns around our properties for the last several years. Connor Gallipo has worked for him for 5 years and is taking over the business. He said he would continue at the same schedule, the same rate, basically the same contract we were paying Brad. We just need to know if you approve moving it from Brad Keith to Connor Gallipo.
I move that we allow Connor to do the mowing as per the agreement that we had with Brad Keith.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to change over to Brad Keith for our mowing account.
Change from
Brad Keith over to
Connor Gallipo.
Connor Gallipo.
You got it.
Okay,
Did you have a question?
discussion?
Did you have a question about it?
No.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure Joey was.
Yes.
Okay.
We're doing the same thing with the cemetery.
All right.
Yeah, it's
Okay. No discussion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 okay.
Unanimous. Motion carries.
Okay. A few things not on the desk, just a couple other topics. The scholarships are due this Friday by noon. I have, I think, 5 or 6 now. So I've got them in my office. So we have scoring sheets and forms and things like that. So we'll when you come to personnel committee meeting, we'll give it to us. The annual VLCT grant, I had sent all the department heads information several weeks ago about that. Dave got back to me. Dell had asked he wanted to add some cameras to the transfer station. We put in a system there before with the grant. Dave's request was several weeks ahead of Dell's, but his is basically going to take the entire grant to do it. Dell said he can wait if he needs to, so that's not a big deal. So because Dave is taken on the TAC count, I think we just give him the grant and let him. So we're going to get a sewer inspection camera. It's a very nice system.
That's actually a good way.
Yeah.
And I went to the company. I said, we went to one that was battery powered, and with an extra battery pack, and shipping was a little over 8,000. I said, our budget's 7,500, and they got it like 75, like 60. So we're basically, I think we're gonna pay like $60 or something like that.
Comes out of his budget.
We'll take $60 out of his budget.
Oh, I was
yes.
thinking it was gonna come out of his
But
pocket.
no other departments said they were interested in anything that really we could do. So, but this year is 100% reimbursement. So we order it, we pay for it, we submit the reimbursement, and then we get all the money back. So
Do we have to sign something approving it?
I will do that for you for the next meeting.
Okay,
So, because I was waiting to see if anybody else wanted anything, but I haven't yet. So there will be something for the board to sign, but this will be an easy one this year. Some years have been very long, so this year will be an easy one.
Good. Okay.
I reached out to PEG TV about coming to the school on May 22nd to record that meeting for us, and they said they are already fully booked for everybody they have, so we don't have anybody to come record it. So we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way.
Yep.
So talk slow. The person that came last meeting to talk about the Folsom Plaza vendor, so she's looking at some other locations that just may work out feasibly better for them. So she is gonna let me know before next meeting if she wants to come in to talk to you or not. So
fair enough.
Yep. As Dave said, I'm working on sidewalk easements. Surprisingly not actually straightforward and easy, but we're getting there. We're trying to track down some heirs to Life Estate. So that's the holdup at this point. So, and I've got some questions back to Kevin. I haven't heard back from him in a few days. So I'm waiting. I got to hear from him before I can go farther. So since taking over as the E911 coordinator, I did get with there was an orientation meeting we had a little while ago for about an hour or so, went over the issues, and we don't have a lot, but we definitely have several. There's some ones that weren't measured when there were the first 1 or 2 houses put in on a new part of a development weren't measured right. So now a lot of them are wrong. So we've got to kind of fix them. So there's some there's some bigger issues, there's some smaller issues. There's some, now somebody added a workshop during the day and they put a phone line there. So now that third building on what was a long driveway with a phone line, and there's two houses there, now requires it to be a private road. So there's a few of those that we've run into, working with Tyler. But we're gonna be having to do a few of these, probably 3 or 4 new private roads, just because of people built constructions or changed the use of a shed into a garage and things like that. So
More to come.
more to come. There are the biggest issue we have is the Green Mountain Plaza. The restaurant's numbered wrong, the bank's numbered wrong, everything. It's just it's one of those things like we've kind of just it's been that way for a long time.
Yep.
And we just kind of need to decide, are we going to how do we want to handle it? Because I don't know. There's a couple vacancies right there right now, but the part of the issue is that there's a nail salon there that's using, I think they're using like 304A, and E911 does not acknowledge A's, B's, halves, things like that. And there's actually, I've found several of those where people put on mailboxes like A and B for apartments. Well, that's actually can't be that way. So we've got to address some of those. So I'm going to start working on that to see what they are. But that is one of the issues in the plaza. They took a storefront that was one big store. They split into 2 and they went with an A and a B, and it doesn't work.
Frankly, I'm less concerned about that. That's me personally, because people know where the Green Mountain Plaza is. If they find that, they can follow the signage that's
so
there.
that was one example, but there's some other ones. There's some we've got a few. Excuse me. And actually the post office called me the other day. Their letter carriers have had some issues delivering packages because of the way people have assumed an address rather than asking for one. So they've created some conflicts in there now. So
okay,
we're gonna have some work to do.
Okay, just bring a few of those in.
Yep.
Per meeting, starting with the most urgent.
Yeah.
Trickle them in.
Would like to get a building technology committee meeting. That's Kurt and Joe. There's a few things that have started to come up. One of which is really unfortunately is actually our phone system. The vendor we purchased it from for a while after we purchased it was great. And for about the past 14 months has been completely unavailable. Can't find him. I talked with our IT vendor and his response was, "Oh, you too." So apparently there's 4 rather substantial, some towns, some universities, and they're having exactly the same problem. So I reached out to Consolidated and said, "Do you guys offer anything?" Turns out they do. And in talking with them, there's some ways we could actually replace our phone system, and our monthly service would actually go down by about a couple of dollars a month. It would actually go down, but the phone system they offer would allow us to expand to other buildings. So if we build a new public safety building, we can put an identical matching system in that building. And if somebody calls here and says, "I'm looking for the police," we can just transfer them over and it goes to there, and it's just seamless. So
sounds like a good thing for
it's a great thing for the technology community to cover. So there are some issues we've been experiencing with the phone system here, and we can't fix them. We just don't have the access to do it. One of which is the time. So 6 months out of the year, the time is wrong. And so is our voicemail. So it's some little things that's just, it seems silly, but I spent, when I got the original quote from Consolidated, within about 10 minutes, I made a list of no joke, like 20 things. I'm like, these are the things I want to know about. And we had a follow-up meeting almost for 2 hours talking about, and they like every single thing that we had an issue with. They're like, "This is how we handle it. We have a console to control a lot of things. It's a much different experience." Okay. We've also had some sound quality issues, and their system, it's what we talked about. It's not going to be a problem anymore. So it's unfortunate, but I've tried to get a hold of him a half a dozen times, and at this point we just need to look at a different solution. So I did ask, unfortunately, Consolidated does not offer, they don't take anything in trade and give credit for it. I did try, but we would likely be able to, we would attempt to try and sell the system if we put this new one in to sell what we have to try and offset some of the costs. So
Okay.
it's not a bad system. We just can't manage it with
Yeah.
what we have for resources. So
Joe
More to
and
come.
Kurt, if you
Yep.
could get together and
Well, well, I got him, Kurt. Friday, can you make Friday morning at 9?
I can't do this Friday, unfortunately.
Okay.
I have to go to
All right.
St. Albans.
What about
any
next
other
week?
time. Yeah, next week I'm flexible. So whatever works
Next,
for you.
well, let's shoot for Monday morning at 9.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Monday, May 1st, 9:00.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
okay.
The last thing I have, our new delinquent tax collector has been getting everything up and running for his things. There were a couple things he asked for help with, which was Jim had remote access. Jim got his own license. Don asked if we could do that. So I had Howard's remote license, which I moved from Howard's machine, which he doesn't need anymore, to Don's. So I have the cost of the balance for the year. And I told Don, I said, it's a yearly license. Yes, to order some business cards. Could we do that? We did that for Jim and Jim reimbursed us for that. And at this point, I've spent about 2 hours of time wholly dedicated on Don's getting Don up and running. So I wasn't sure how we wanted to handle it, how we wanted to do that. Do we want to just ask him? Do we want to send an invoice? I don't know how we've done that in the past for other things, but it's about $125 at this point for various items.
Okay, so what's the stuff that, like the share of the license, excluding your time?
It's $68.
$68.
Yes.
And the rest of it is your time.
Yes.
What's your pleasure? Do we,
Tax
it sounds like
collector.
we have requested in the past reimbursement for actual expenses like the business card and the license.
Well, so in the past, Jim just got his own license and he said he's keeping it for other uses. So that's why, it's $33, which is, it's the remaining portion of the year till it renews.
Joe?
Well, the tax collector is a separate entity. That is like his own little business, and that's the cost of doing business. So we can ask politely, or we can give him a formal invoice.
Yeah.
No, for all of it, including bills.
Whatever portion is required. I don't know if we normally bill for Bill's time. I almost think we should, but because that's not town business, because the tax collector is his own individual, his own business. That's not a town funded position.
So I thought about that, and I try to help everybody out when I can. And some of the things I can do, I've been able to do for him, like in the mix of other things. This was time I had to completely stop what I was doing, and like it was dedicated time. So if it was like, hey, I'm working on this, but I could do this for you too, that's fine. This was 100% dedicated time. There was just no way around it.
Sharon, you were about to say something.
I think I agree with Joey. I think we send the bill to Don, do an invoice, and keep it all in the up and up. Business is business.
Okay. So
what do you think?
Yep.
Do we need a motion on that?
I don't think so.
Let's try it with the invoice and see what happens. If we need to do more, we can.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
That's everything I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions of Bill Sweet, Town Administrative?
Fred's got one.
Fred.
Oh, I did call you earlier today. The trees at Northwood Park. From Green Mountain Power. The ones they cut down. So the ones, as Fred told me, the ones on the ground are there. They were part of the maintenance of the right of way, so they weren't subject to Act 250.
Okay.
We've had no interest in them really at all. So They are very anxious to have something done with them. At this point, I don't know. I mean, I can call back and say, you're free to do whatever you like to with them. I think I don't know if he's going to say like, well, we need to get rid of them, then get rid of them. Like, we didn't cut them down. Like we didn't.
Right.
So at this point, I'm going to say, if you put them there, then they're yours. So, there's really nothing else to do with them. Like it's not worth anybody's time.
There was no interest.
No.
All right.
I do have a fellow with a log truck that will take them for what he can get out of the material.
Okay.
Have at it.
When can he be there?
Well,
because I'm going to call from them like twice a week now. So
he planned on being there before the 1st of March, but then
yeah,
back to 50 permits
Yep.
and everything else.
Okay.
I did refer Matty Petty today, Matty Perry rather, excuse me, the consultant for Green Mountain. He has a completed Act 250 permit ready for the board to sign. I referred him to Bill today.
Okay. And that's just to allow the tree cutting that's already occurred.
No, that's to allow a dozen more small sapling poles trees to cut down so that they don't have to swing the pipe over the top.
Okay.
I think those are and I think weren't they outside the maintenance?
Outside the 34
they're
right away.
yeah, they're outside the right of way, which
Okay,
is why
so they
They're
are
right away in the access road.
okay.
Maybe a dozen. There's nothing bigger than 8 inches.
And that's the only thing they require us to do.
Might be, it's an area half the size of this room.
Okay. As our tree warden, are you okay with
I
us?
was okay with one for forgiveness.
I know. Okay. So it looks like we've got, is the application in the 250
no,
application?
I don't have anything yet. He told me about it today. I don't have it yet.
Okay. Well,
So-
we can
I got an email over the weekend and I got back to Matt today.
okay. So we can put it on our agenda for next meeting and deal with it
If he
then.
gets me, that's fine. So are we gonna we're gonna okay with Fred having someone come pick up what's there and
I'll
make
see
it go away?
I'll see if he's still interested in it.
Okay. Can you let me know as soon as you know? Because these guys are like, it's twice a week I'm getting a phone call like asking about this because
Is the rest of the select board okay with that?
Yeah, get it gone. If the logger doesn't want it, then tell GMP to get rid of it.
I think if it was worth anything, it'd already be gone. So that's
Really.
the
Joe, are you
Okay.
okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
okay. We'll take care of that.
Okay,
All right.
good. All right, committee reports. I think we've heard from Rick. We've heard from, finance and what was our other committee? Personnel. We reported last time and we weighed in a little bit this time. Any other committees that met? Okay, update on select board project list. It's up there. If you have ones, we should add those to the list. Is public safety building up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Good. Okay. Let's see. Under action needed, we've already heard from COTS. We've discussed e-bikes. We've talked about the dog park petition. We've done one appointment and the others we're going to advertise. Are there any other new items? Any other items? So there, F is executive session, and I do have some information for you and some things that we need to discuss.
Can we have a 5-minute break before the executive session?
Yeah. It will be,
Mary?
Yes, Joe.
I have a personnel issue also
Okay.
that I'd like to
So
do.
we've got personnel issue, we've got advice from town attorney, and we've got potential land transactions. So if someone would like to make a motion to go into executive session to cover those 3 topics.
I shall move in 5 minutes.
Motion's made and seconded to go into executive session in 5 minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unopposed.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we are out of executive session at 9:09. Okay, are there any motions?
Yes, I make a motion that lot number 630100, that we publish a notice of sealed bids due May 30th, 2023. and that they would be open the first board meeting in June, which is June 6th. Town reserves the right to reject any and all bids.
Okay, so the motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to solicit bids for land owned by the town. And ID number is 63-0100. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Motion is unanimous. Is there any other business to be conducted?
Move to
So we
adjourn.
know what motion? Joe moves to adjourn.
Second, aye, yep.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye.